I watch Eurovision every year, so coming around to the 6th year that I've been watching the contest, I was pretty confident that I could figure out the top 5. I sat down to watch the finals with my sister, who I finally convinced to watch with me. We're Canadian, so it's not that big of a thing around here, and as the votes were being counted, I realized, yep, I was completely wrong. And this was the first time that I was able to vote, but despite my best efforts and the fact that I was only able to give one vote to my top 2 favorite acts, the results came back and I was just a little bit disappointed. So even though I do plan to make other music and gaming content in the future, I just had to make my own country that is completely subjective, I say subjective, to give out my own 12 points. So the way this video is going to work is I'll start with the act that I'm giving 1 point, all the way up to the act that I'm giving 12 points, and I'll offer some reasoning or commentary as to why I think this way. Tautameitas really blew it out of the water this year for Latvia. The overlapping vocals with smooth harmonies in the previews that they showed for the second half of the semi-finals really made me excited for their performance on the Thursday, and I was definitely not disappointed. Starting with the song, it is definitely one that I would remember if I came across it somewhere in the far future. The Latvian language is beautiful, and I appreciate that it was chosen to be used in this entry because it really made it stick out from the others. The song flows so smoothly from beginning to end, and I really enjoy that it picks up a little bit at the end with the intro of a small beat after the bridge. The singing was also consistent all the way through. The girls were in sync, and the harmonies never sounded off or unpleasant. The staging itself was also well thought out. I think because there were so many performers on stage, it was a wise choice to go with such a simple backdrop of a string curtain as to not direct too much focus away from them. I also liked the emphasized use of shadows, these being really expressive and full of movement to make up for the lack of props. It was clear that the strings were meant to mimic a dense, dark forest with the girls as mystical nymphs. The outfits were also stunning, the glowing headpieces adding to the scenes that were a little bit more on the darker side, with their slight glow to highlight the performers. This entry is a piece of art, and it would definitely be a crime if it wasn't placed in the top 12. But if I had one suggestion to make, it's that I found the chanting to be a tad bit repetitive, especially near the end. The song is hindered by the lack of a large final chorus after the bridge, and while the high note in the final stretch of the song does give it some variety, I kind of wish that they moved the second chorus to the end, while either slightly altering the melody or the key just a little bit for that grand showstopper finale. Additionally, I wish they played a little bit more with the shadow projection effect in other areas because it was such a great addition to the bridge with the tails. I think it would have heightened the creativity of the staging just that tiny bit more, but all in all, this was a very strong performance. I absolutely loved this song in the first semi-final, and just as a side note, I know this might be an unpopular opinion, but I thought that the songs of the first semi-final were actually better than that of the second semi-final. Justina here puts on a jaw-dropping performance with insane choreo, stamina, and prolonged high notes. I cannot understand why Poland did not nearly get as many jury votes as they should have, although Poland could send the most qualified stunning performance, and for some reason, the jury would still ignore them. For starters, the staging is excellent. Justina here brings you on a wild ride from a tornado to being flown up into the air to pulling out some really killer choreography, all while belting out some very stable notes. Honestly, this lady is truly incredible because this is an incredibly physically demanding performance, and I would have passed out even before the first chorus. I also enjoy how this song follows the recent trend in Eurovision where we're straying away from songs being solely in English because it makes this song that much more memorable. Surprisingly, the dragon animation in the background doesn't look overly comical or out of place, which is impressive because 3D animals can sometimes look a little bit wonky, especially in a serious performance like this. The background dancers also really did their part by ensuring that the energy didn't die down when Justina needed to move to the back of the stage to fly into the air. Now, just like Latvia, this song doesn't rank lower than the others because it is lacking, but I simply enjoy the other songs above it just a little bit more. If the song were to be improved in any way, I think that the lower notes at the beginning of the performance were a little bit quiet. The high notes were phenomenal, but I feel like these other notes should have been either pitched up a little bit more to reach her comfortable range, or they could have been chanted or whispered in such a way to build up to that pre-chorus. Also, this is just a personal preference, but I found the camera effect to be a little bit humorous when it zoomed forward 3 times as she ran across the stage. To keep the serious dramatic tone, I would have liked to see the camera do what it did during the first part that she ran, snap to a shot of the dancer, then back to her running on that same beat. I only say this because it made myself and my sister laugh a little bit because it was quite jarring in comparison to the other camera work in the performance. Overall, Poland definitely should have gotten more votes from the jury, and I can't understand why they ranked so low. Listen, if you can make me like a slower ballad, you have an amazing song. That's exactly what happened with Asteromata by Claudia. For starters, the song itself is structured really nicely. I love how it starts off as a slow, vocal-heavy performance for the first 50 seconds, as it then slowly transitions into a dramatic, instrumentally heavy song with drums and strings, to end right back where it started. Because this song is constantly evolving in both instrumentation and even in vocal power, I found myself absolutely entranced in the melody all the way throughout. Even just the choice to delay the drum beats from the start of the final chorus a few seconds late provided some really good variety in the song, and slowing down the ending was really great in maintaining the dramatic theming of the performance. In terms of vocals, Claudia really lets her voice shine, even in the lower parts at the beginning, and you can tell that she has an insane range with her ability to hit both the lower and the higher notes later on in the song. Moving on to staging, I really liked the use of color to portray the changing mood as the song progressed. The background projections and the lights move from dark to fiery red with the more dramatic chorus, back to a blue and black scene before building up to a red-colored chorus again, and to white at the very end. The only improvements I would suggest for this performance are related to the staging. Firstly, I find the centerpiece prop to be a tad bit blocky. At the beginning of the performance, Claudia stands on the dock and the rock stands in front of her. Eventually, she moves up to the rock starting in the chorus. Now, I think that one of the props had to go, either the rock or the dock, but I'm leaning toward only keeping the rock. While she is standing on the dock, she's standing far enough away that the rock kind of covers her a little bit too much, which can be a limitation when putting on such an expressive performance. Additionally, just due to the fact that the rock is bigger than her, and she's already seen as pretty small due to her position on the dock further away from the audience on stage, the large rock centerpiece draws the watcher's attention actually away from her. It also doesn't help that she's already wearing black, so she blends into the background a little. Therefore, I think that she should have been positioned somewhere in front of the rock at the start, then slowly moved behind and up the rock before the dancer started to move toward the stage, and then the performance would resume as normal. All in all, the song is really emotionally moving, and it is a ballad that I would actually listen to over and over again. Now, I didn't actually expect to like this song because I found it to be very similar to the entry of Ireland, Like a Party by Emmy, which was performed on the same day. Maybe it was due to styling or just the general themes of both of the performances, but I actually forgot this song existed until it was performed in the final. Then, I found this to be a really good, solid performance by Laura Thorne. For starters, the song is extremely catchy with a chorus that's kind of like an earworm. So the repetitive chorus is definitely the standout of the song, but the verses also have substance with an easy-to-follow melody leading into the pre-chorus. To keep the song interesting, I liked the way the second chorus was delayed by a single beat, and due to the repetitive nature of the song, La poupée monte le sun was a lyric that was easy to follow and anticipated even upon the first listen. In fact, the more that I do listen to the song, the more satisfying it is to hear this each time. The final chorus is definitely the standout, featuring louder high notes layered over the normal chorus, which definitely keeps the listener's interest while contributing to a satisfying, grander ending. In terms of staging, the beginning of the performance was eye-catching with the use of a projector on the ground, and everything was just so cute, from her outfit to the overall stage and dollhouse projection in the background. Laura also made use of the entire stage really well, starting on the ground closer to the stage and then moving further up to the end closest to the audience. Now, the only reason that I ranked this entry a little lower than the others was that while I found the bridge to be a great addition to the song, it was a little bit of an abrupt change from the aesthetic for majority of the song. We turned from this very cute, doll-like theming to sort of a more mature, upbeat bridge, and I think that to make the performance flow a little more evenly, some of the bold elements of the bridge should have been incorporated into the final chorus, like maybe some of that louder percussion to keep things cohesive. Now, this song didn't actually make it to the finals, much to my disappointment, but I think that the main reason was due to the performance itself. But first, let's talk about the song. The fast-paced instrumental, futuristic-sounding synths, and heavy percussion set up this really cool techie vibe, and these elements all ramp up heading toward the chorus to really bring that dramatic feeling that's trying to be portrayed here. My favorite parts of the song would be the pre-chorus and the chorus, alongside the beat drop between them. Now, I am quite biased toward faster-paced songs over slower ballads just due to personal preference, so I was absolutely hooked on this song the first time I listened to it. Also, the instrumental break is great in that it slows down the music, then ramps up again for that exciting final chorus, and I actually do enjoy the high notes in the recorded song specifically. I actually really liked the staging for this performance too. The props were super simple, 2 rectangular pillars, some lens effects, and lighting. And I think that this actually benefited Theo Evan because the song itself is already so busy. There are clear moments where the tone of the song shifts, like in the pre-chorus, so changing the lighting is actually a great way to quickly change the stage in these parts to fit the tone. I think the strongest part of the performance was in the opening, with the transitional lights flashing on either side of the stage, because it offered this really cool movement-looking effect with minimal effort. I know some people were saying that his acting in the instrumental break was a little bit awkward, but I'm gonna be real with you, I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was bad at all. In terms of movement throughout the stage, it was certainly a creative choice to make him climb over and under the pillars, kind of like a jungle gym structure. Now, where I did find a few issues with the performance that made me rank it a little bit lower were in the vocals. I think he must have been nervous, but the high notes weren't executed too well, and it sounded like he was a tiny bit out of breath. I think this may have been because the choreo was just a bit too demanding, and maybe executing less moves would have made it easier to sing overall. Perhaps having him attempt the chorus not on top of the blocks would have resulted in a more stable performance. Also, I found the apparel of the background dancers to be just a little bit too similar to Theo's, making it a little bit difficult to follow him as the lead singer in a few parts. Perhaps dressing them up in a different color instead of the same black tank top and pants combo would have allowed for more focus to be on him. But overall, let's just say that I'm willing to overlook these flaws because the song is just really, really good. This song really caught me off guard because I did not expect to enjoy it at all, but I kept going back to it for reasons I really couldn't pinpoint until the finals rolled around. For starters, I really enjoy the fact that subtitles were added to the song. While I do tend to prefer the non-English entries, it did help me identify more with what Lucio Corsi was singing about, and that really struck a chord with me, especially for a song portraying such heartfelt emotions. It was a great addition to the performance. Furthermore, both the vocals and the instruments were executed flawlessly in both the semi-final and final performances. I, for one, really liked the harmonica solo because it provided an immense amount of variety into the performance. speaking of variety, I enjoyed how he began at the piano, moved to the guitar, and then to the harmonica because he was actually able to use the whole stage in such a creative way as opposed to staying stationary like in many other past ballads. Since it seems like Lucio was aiming for a more authentic, raw performance, it was a smart choice not to rely on flashy background projections and lights for said variety to keep the audience's interest and instead switch from instrument to instrument across the stage. From the entries up to this point, I think my rankings are just purely based on vibes because I actually really don't have anything to criticize about this entry on my list. It's amazing and I would definitely listen to it again, but I just happen to prefer the other entries above it. The set design is actually so peak for this performance. Like, look how much red there is everywhere. Like, she's wearing red, and the lights are red, and the backdrop is red. Okay, but in all seriousness, this has to be one of my favorite set designs of the entire competition. Of course, we have to start with the motion graphics on the projector and the stage. As someone who has been practicing motion graphics editing for a while now, I am really impressed with how smooth they made the geometric backgrounds, the transitions between the shape movements, the shadows between the circles, and how they made the stage look busy yet aesthetically pleasing at the same time. Also, I love how every time he striked the prop in the center, the entire stage transitioned into black and white. Coupled with her red outfit and the fact that this happens with each major beat at the start of each line of the chorus, it really draws attention both to her due to the color contrast and to him in the middle who is initiating the beat. Szkoła Elektroniki also just performs so well. The vocals are top tier, and I think that the high notes were especially really well done. I also think that it was great of the composers to specifically highlight areas in the pre-chorus where they wanted to build up emotion, before descending into the flurry of instruments in the chorus with the louder percussion and the strings. Variety is a characteristic that I generally look out for in songs, and you can see this variety actually in how the song is structured here. We get our intro, pre-chorus, chorus, and then we get this crazy switch in vocals for an entirely new type of verse. We switch back into our pre-chorus, then to a final chorus, and then an ending segment heavy on the vocals. With all of these different parts in succession, it is really difficult to get bored of the song, and it certainly kept my attention all the way through. I will definitely say that the chorus is the most catchy part of the song, but that's to be expected. In general, I think that both the song itself and the performance were extremely spectacular. Albania was definitely robbed by the jury 100%. I have never been in a sauna before, nor have I ever seen one. I mean, I don't think you come across them too casually in Canada. Yeah, but scratch that, guys. As I was making this video, my uncle installed one in his basement, and I've been in it, but he didn't turn it on or whatnot. Regardless, I was listening to this song like, yes, I do too enjoy sitting in a sauna. First off, the song is seriously so catchy all the way through. From the build-up of the verses to the chorus itself, it is a song that will stay in your head all day. It was interesting that they repeat the chorus essentially twice at the beginning, and normally this would have caused some problems with repetitivity, but it actually works because the chorus has a simple melody that's easy to follow, and as a result becomes an earworm that you kinda actually look forward to hearing as the song progresses. The bridge does a great job of leading up to the final chorus to build up suspense with minimal vocals and a quieter volume. And I'm also kind of a sucker for when the final chorus of a song is slightly altered, so pitching it up in this song was definitely the right move. In terms terms of instruments and vocals, I especially enjoy the more folk-sounding vibe that they were going for because this automatically separates it from majority of the other entries that lean more toward traditional-sounding pop. I think that the vocals were spot on, and for the areas where the lyrics were a little more spoken, I thought that the charisma of Kai was something that really came through specifically in these parts. The staging was extremely well done, and it was charming how they were building a sauna in the background as the performance progressed. Actually, I was watching this performance in the semifinals without any prior context, and as someone who really only speaks English and a little bit of decent French, I was immediately able to get exactly what their song was about. This is honestly really good because it just emphasizes that they had a clear theme and they really stuck to it, instead of having random staging just meant to make the performance look decent instead of complementing the content of the song. Choreographing a small dance was also definitely smart because, similar to the Vocaloid VTuber phenomenon, it makes your song more memorable and, when used right on social media, can generally provide you a great foundation for getting your song out there. Also, just as a quick note, my mother happened to be passing by as this song was playing, and for someone who doesn't really care about Eurovision and doesn't understand it at all, she told me that I had to vote for them specifically for her. The chokehold that this song has on me is pretty insane. And for a song that I was kind of unsure about at first, I take it back. Whatever they put in the song is so addictive. Technically speaking, it is a very simple song with a very common structure and not a lot of stuff going on in both the vocal and instrumental departments. So you would think that it doesn't really match with my subjective definition of a good song. But guys, let me tell you, I've been listening to this song without fail numerous times every single day since the end of the competition. So I tried to identify why this song is the way it is. The reason? The song's main message is to shoot for the stars, a simple message, but one that is more about self-confidence trying to be portrayed through the beat and music itself, as opposed to the lyrics.
I shoot for the stars. Ich ball la 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 la, schön die Nachtsterne voll la 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 und knallen auf mein Herz. Es tut nur ein bisschen weh, wenn ich dich wiedersehe.
This simplicity makes it easy to turn on when you're going for a walk or driving, and with its fast percussion, just really gets you into an upbeat mood. I'd probably hear this playing at a club. I cannot say for sure because I've never been clubbing, but it would probably be played just to get everyone to dance. But it's why I have this song constantly playing when I'm walking to places. Sometimes it's just great to take a break from very heartfelt emotional songs and listen to a simple, energetic bop every now and then. And then I tried to think of more reasons, but I'm not a musician and I don't sing, perform, or produce music at all whatsoever, so I really couldn't give you any more reasoning than this. It's fun, it's catchy, it's energetic, and it's just really good. In terms of staging, I found it to be pretty solid. Abor and Tina really have some great stage presence, and it helps that the cello is highlighted in bright lights to make sure it doesn't get lost along all of the other things going on in the background. The background projection is simple yet effective, using alternating colors and sizes for the word baller to grab your attention in the chorus. I think that my favorite part of the performance was when the cello was smashed right before the last chorus, because they turned the stage magenta, contrasting the blue that was used for 90% of the performance for that extra kind of boom type of effect that they were going for, coupled with the lights following the cello to guide the audience's attention up there. I think that this was greatly beneficial for the overall performance because the song is pretty repetitive, so it adds that extra moment at the end that helps maintain your focus. The reason why I wouldn't put this song in my top 3 is because I found the live vocals to be a tad bit weak. I think that this is really shown in the chorus, where it switches from using a heavy backtrack to raw vocals in the same line, the lack of volume clearly not adding anything to the performance. I think her mic needed to be a little bit higher as a result. Furthermore, I found the lack of backtrack to be really strange in these specific verses here in the pre-chorus, because they are a great addition to the official recording, giving her voice just a little bit more support in the quieter parts. I think turning up the volume for these harmonies would have added to her vocal performance pretty well. Also, this is just a nitpick, but I wish that the costumes were a brighter silver as opposed to black, just because she gets lost in all the commotion of the background set and flashy lights. Now, this is no problem for him because he has a bright lit up cello right near him, but I think that this would have greatly improved her stage presence. Would I listen to this song? Yes. Would I recommend my friends to listen to this song? Also yes. I really like this song because I can actually understand the French, and that makes me feel like I actually retained information from my French lessons after I graduated high school last year. But in all seriousness, this song is just so pleasing to listen to. The starting piano notes are great at setting the tone, bringing the song to its emotional beginning to lead into a simple mix of vocals and piano. I really enjoy how the song slowly brings in the other instruments very subtly until the chorus, and then that really moves into the more vocal, heavier percussion stuff. It's so emotional, yet strangely magical and hopeful sounding, and it's no wonder that it just struck a chord with me immediately. It also has one of my favorite bridges in the contest by far. You know how when there's like a really good part of a song that you look forward to hearing each time, and sometimes you click on that song just to hear that part? For me, it's this bridge. The emotion that's packed into it, the vocals reaching the higher notes, reaching the climax, is what makes this small section just so good before the song settles down into the quieter, heartfelt chorus. Also, this is one of the songs in the contest that doesn't actually end in a big, loud finale, but actually does make the more uncommon change in a final chorus by making it slower. So we still get a lot of variety, but this time in a different way. Speaking of variety, I really appreciate how after the first chorus, we keep the main instruments playing instead of reverting back to the piano just like in the previous verses. It helps keep up the energy as, well I said before, making sure that each part of the song sounds different in order to keep things interesting. In terms of the actual performance, I really enjoyed the televised one a lot. The charisma that Claude has, his energy and portrayed emotion on the stage just really add to the song as a whole. His vocals are really great too, especially in the finals, because he adds sort of a growl or a rough sound onto some of the notes, which is really pleasing to listen to.
Sometimes in love, sometimes miserable, and I still hear my mama's voice inside of me. La melody, la melody.
You can tell this performance meant a lot to him too, especially at the end. Honestly, I'd be willing to say that this was one of the best vocal performances of the night. The staging was simple, but it didn't really limit the performance in any way because the song was the true focal point the entire time. Having just that extra lighting in the background to further help with setting the mood was perfect. I still cannot fathom why this song did not get more televotes because it's perfect in almost every single way, and I'll probably continue to come back to this performance for years to come. As I said earlier, I voted for my top 2 songs. This was one of them. This song immediately caught my interest because of its use of what I think is an anti-drop. All of the past songs on this list have sort of functioned as building up to the chorus, with louder instruments and vocals being pushed up as the song progressed. In this song, the pre-chorus actually builds up from the quieter sounding first verse, and we're sent from a heavy, fantasy-like instrumental into a more beat-heavy, less vocally demanding main chorus.
I'm not afraid to set it all on fire. I won't fall again. I'll be my own lighter. Nothing can burn me now. I'll be my own lighter.
This really helps subvert your expectations, and it did catch me by complete surprise the first time I heard the song. The final chorus is really great because, as I've been reiterating throughout this entire video, it has variety. While it does start the same as the first chorus, the ending notes are just so satisfying to listen to.
Nothing can burn me down. I'm my own lighter.
Contributing to this variety is the quieter bridge, which builds up to the big high note of the last chorus, which is honestly the best part of the song. It's kind of epic, and it really helps with the final build-up.
I wish none of this was true, but there's a fire growing too.
In terms of instrumentals, I loved how there was an accompanying string instrument, because it helped portray that half-fantasy pop theme that they were most likely going for in the stage design and outfits, this theming often relying on key-stringed instruments. The reason I say this is because I think without what I assume is a violin, I don't think I'd be able to tell what they were going for. It would have probably sounded like an epic song, certainly, but nothing more than that. I think Kyle's vocals were actually really good. He didn't seem to struggle in the beginning with the lower notes, which is where I found many of the other contestants to sound a little bit weaker, and he's able to maintain the stability, especially into the higher notes. Also, major props to him for being so stable despite executing some choreography. It was definitely smart to have him remain relatively stationary leading up to the first chorus, as to conserve energy, and to have many cool looking dance moves that didn't require him to move around excessively to impact his vocal stability. Also, I really like the guy who did a flip, best background dancer of the night. Now, similar to Claude, Kyle also has some really great stage presence. He stays the main focus throughout the entire performance, and he really does command the stage in a powerful way. Furthermore, I think it was really smart to incorporate this dance break instrumental sequence. Not only is the instrumental really good because it's hidden behind a lot of the vocals for majority of the song, so it's nice to listen to, but suddenly breaking out into dance really does keep your attention. I am really looking forward to seeing what Kyle Alessandro makes in the future. I also found out that we're the same age, which is kind of funny because the most I've accomplished in comparison is like pretty much nothing, but I'll definitely be looking out for his future stuff should he make more music. This song, this oat song, has been playing absolutely non-stop in my head since the end of the first semi-final round. And like, what can I say? The jury was absolutely foul for giving it 0 points because this song is a masterpiece. The intro to the song leading into the first chorus is actually extremely strong. We start with the more traditional sounding instruments, including the lead violin setting up the sea shanty vibe with the common chord progression and simple rhythm. The beat then picks up, and while still keeping the melody that we've created, we've moved into more of a modern vibe. And the chorus is unbelievably catchy for reasons I really can't articulate, but I think it just has to do with Vibe being absolutely hyped the entire time. It's upbeat and just extremely happy sounding that you can't help but find it absolutely enjoyable. The charisma and the stage presence of the boys is really what sells the song by far. This is especially evident in the rap verses with the fun choreography and more dramatic speaking that mixed it up a little. It's very hard to have a decent sounding rap section of a song because it can potentially sound extremely generic, sometimes just shoehorned in there to fill up space. But because it's portrayed as more theatrical here with certain lines, especially in the second rap verse, it doesn't sound bad at all, and it actually keeps up the mood of the song. Remember how I said that my issue with the Baller live performance was that the harmonies in the pre-chorus were too quiet in the backtrack? This is a perfect example as to what should have been done. They were going for that electronic feel here, and the harmonies ended up being just as loud as their voices in the backtrack, which sounds great. The pre-chorus then slows down the song a little bit, toning down the instruments and focusing on the vocals to suddenly lead into this large explosive chorus again. I think that this contrast is what really sells the chorus. It really gets you anticipating it as the energy slowly builds up, and it functions just as well and pretty much the same as that anti-drop in Lighter, despite being a different way to get to that chorus. The brothers also have some pretty solid live vocals, especially in the pre-chorus where it quiets down. Like I said about Kyle, they're able to keep the energy up instead of sounding weaker in the lower notes, which can really make or break a performance for some people. I think that it was also smart to pitch down the song for the live performance, not just for better vocals, but because I actually like this version for some reason. Like, it sounds fresher than the original. Like, I don't know, I'm not a musician or anything, but it does make the song so much better for reasons that I really can't articulate. Also, like, the staging is just so good for this song. Like, it's simple, but once again, Vibe just really bring that energy, so much so that the extra lighting and background projections just add to the performance. I absolutely love the instrumental break when they're on the boat. It's just so silly, and you can really tell that everyone is having a really good time, and I think it's one of the best instrumental dance breaks from this year because it's just so memorable. Also, Minecraft. Major props to the dancers as well. They really just bring the energy so well, and I cannot believe how much they are constantly moving around on stage. From the dramatic violin playing to the quick exaggerated choreo that they're doing in the background, I'm like beyond impressed. Both them and the brothers all come together to own the stage. I think it was great to have the background dancers because the staging is pretty minimal, so they help keep the stage from feeling empty. Their outfits are really cool, and they absolutely highlight all the singers on the stage so nicely. Like, you can see the silver from a mile away, which is the most important thing when you're deciding on the outfits. Think Zifferblatt with the bright pink suit. Both outfits draw your attention toward the singers, and because they're not generic looking at all, they will surely be remembered for years to come. Great song, great performance, great stage presence. This song has joined my top songs for the past Eurovisions that I've watched so far, and I can't wait to see what Vibe has prepared for their future music. Yo. Zifferblatt? What? Those two recordings are so different. Shkodra Elektronike. Elektronike or electronique? Shkodra Elektronike?
Shkodra elektronike.
Elektronike. Shkodra Elektronike.
Volevo essere un duro.
Volevo essere
Volevo essere un duro. Tautomatas.
Tautomatas. Tautomatas. Tautomatas. Tautomatas.
Tautomatas.
Tautomatas. Tas.